We put up XRP and Solana and Dogecoin. Those are all, I believe, cons. I mean, if we think that the XRP slash USD coin is something that we should be following, and I don't want to try to figure out how to lose money for people.
Hey there, future millionaires. Welcome back to the channel. It's so good to see you again. I hope you're having an absolutely amazing day, no matter where you're watching from around this incredible world of ours. Today, we're diving into something exciting, XRP. And I've got to kick things off with this brilliant insight from James Wynn. He said, at this point, you might as well buy XRP instead of Bitcoin. And you know what? I'm completely on board with that statement. Here's the thing. Even the most diehard Bitcoin enthusiasts are starting to wake up to reality. They're realizing that sometimes, just sometimes, the biggest returns aren't always going to come from Bitcoin. And in this current market cycle, XRP is positioned to absolutely crush it in terms of return on investment. Let's be real for a second. If you're jumping into Bitcoin when it's already sitting above 100,000, what kind of returns are you really expecting? Maybe a 2x if you're lucky, and that's being pretty optimistic. Here's my honest take. I think Bitcoin's going to peak somewhere between 140 and 150,000 before we see a major correction. So the question is, why settle for those modest gains when there are potentially much bigger opportunities out there? All right, everyone, let's talk about something that's been absolutely on fire this year. Digital asset treasuries, or DATs, as we like to call them. These things have just completely exploded in 2024, and it's been amazing to watch. Now, here's something really exciting coming up. We've got Evernorth CEO Ashko and Joel Katz sitting down with Michael Arrington for what's going to be an incredible conversation. They're diving deep into what we can expect from Evernorth, plus they're covering XRP and this whole rise of DATs. And guess what? This is all happening live at Ripple Swell, which is coming up this week. Can I just say, this Ripple Swell event is going to be absolutely mind-blowing. I'm practically on the edge of my seat waiting to see what kind of major announcements they're going to drop. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss what comes out of this event. All right, let's dive into something really fascinating that David Schwartz shared recently. He's talking about ratios and fees, and honestly, his perspective is pretty eye-opening. So here's what he's saying. When you look at current ratios, like the 1 to 10,000 ratio he mentions, it's basically meaningless for regular holders. Think about it. Having a price floor that's only 0.01% of what you originally paid? That's not really helping anyone, right? But here's where it gets interesting. David points out that these systems often just become another way for one group to basically tax another group as much as they possibly can. And that's frustrating. Now here's what gets me excited. David believes there's room in the market for something completely different. A system where there truly are no middlemen. Imagine this. When Alice wants to send money to Bob, there isn't this whole army of people trying to profit off their transaction by acting as middlemen and taking their cut. And this is where XRP shines, folks. XRP is the only way to pay fees on the XRP ledger. It's the only asset with zero counterparties that any account can hold, no jurisdiction issues, and it's auto-bridged on the DEX. You know what's brilliant about this? This is exactly what Ripple set out to do from day one. They wanted to eliminate all those middlemen because that's where all the fees pile up. That's also where transactions get bogged down and take forever. Let's be honest here. Swift is completely broken and everyone knows it. But guess what? They're still making money off that broken system. Now picture this. A fully digital system where you can send transactions in seconds for less than a penny, with zero middlemen. How are traditional banks supposed to compete with that? They're going to have to completely reinvent themselves because this change is inevitable. The current system is broken, and people are absolutely fed up with it. Ripple has created the real alternative to Swift, and honestly, everyone's going to migrate to that system because they're just tired of dealing with Swift's problems. So here's what people really want at the end of the day. Transactions that are fast, cheap, and secure. Simple as that, right? Now, Solana has been saying that Ripple isn't on the same level as them. And you know what? I actually agree with that statement, but probably not for the reasons Solana thinks. Let me break this down for you. First off, Solana has this annoying habit of going down all the time. We've all seen those network outages. Meanwhile, Ripple just keeps chugging along reliably. But here's the real kicker, and this is where the comparison gets really interesting. Ripple is literally going after trillions of dollars in the global financial system. We're talking about revolutionizing how the entire world moves money. Solana? they're still playing in the billions. Don't get me wrong, billions sounds like a lot, but when you compare it to the massive scale Ripple is targeting, it's like comparing a local coffee shop to a global franchise. Here's my take. Ripple truly is the future of finance. As for Solana, I honestly don't. All right, everyone, we've got some breaking news that just dropped. The 10th Circuit Court has made their decision in the Custodia Bank versus Federal Reserve case, and it's a big one. So here's what happened. It was a 2-1 decision, and unfortunately, the court sided with the Fed. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh no, is this bad news for Ripple and XRP? Well, let me put your mind at ease. This isn't actually a setback for Ripple and XRP at all. But it is important to understand what this ruling really means for the bigger picture. Think of this less as a stop sign and more as a reality check for the entire crypto industry. What the court basically confirmed is that the Federal Reserve has complete discretion when it comes to denying master accounts to banks that aren't traditional, especially those linked to crypto. In simple terms, crypto banks can't just force their way into the Fed's payment system. They can't demand access and expect to get it. But here's the really important part, and this is where it gets interesting. Now here's where things get really interesting, and why this ruling actually doesn't hurt Ripple at all. You see, Ripple doesn't even need a master account with the Fed. That's the beautiful part of their strategy. Ripple's payment network operates through licensed, insured banking partners who already have that precious Fed access. It's genius when you think about it. Here's the key difference. Ripple isn't trying to become a bank themselves. Instead, they're upgrading the banks that already exist. It's like giving a turbo boost to the current system rather than trying to replace it entirely. So who does this ruling really affect? It's mainly going to impact those up-and-coming crypto banks like Custodia, not Ripple's broader ecosystem at all. And get this, Ripple can just keep expanding globally. They'll use their banking partners' Fed access here in the US, and they've got their own licenses in other countries around the world. Pretty smart, right? So here's the bottom line. Custodia's loss definitely doesn't equal Ripple's setback. In fact, Ripple's business model keeps working perfectly, and they might even gain more leverage as other players get boxed out of the system. Now, that said, this doesn't necessarily mean the Fed would deny Ripple a master account if they wanted one. Who knows? Maybe Ripple would just get fast-tracked through the process. We've definitely seen that kind of thing happen before. Although I'm pretty sure Custodia Bank wouldn't be too thrilled if that played out. Anyway, I really wanted to share that update with you so you know exactly where we stand with all this Fed master account situation. It's important to stay in the loop on these things. But now, let's talk about something really exciting that's happening. RLUSD just debuted on BitPanda. This is huge because it's expanding the reach of Ripple's stablecoin even further. And here's what's got me really pumped. We're literally watching Ripple's stablecoin launch on exchange after exchange, one by one. It's like watching dominoes fall, but in the best possible way. The momentum is building all around the world at the same time, and it's absolutely incredible to witness. Every new exchange that adds RLUSD is another step forward in Ripple's global expansion. This is exactly the kind of adoption we love to see, exclaims. All right, so Paul Barron just dropped something absolutely mind-blowing about XRP, and it's got me thinking. Was this Brad Garlinghouse's master plan all along? Chookles, let me walk you through this brilliant plot twist. So here's what's happening right now. Every major bank is literally racing to launch their own stablecoin. Meanwhile, Swift is over there pitching their neutral rails idea. But guess what? The reality is completely different. We've got JP Morgan and Bank of America working on a consortium stablecoin. Then there's ING, Union Credit Plus, and 6 other banks planning a euro stablecoin by 2026. And get this, Bank of America's CEO basically said, "We're ready to launch once regulations clear." Now here's the thing that's absolutely fascinating. Banks don't actually want neutral infrastructure. They want control. They want their own piece of the pie. But here's the kicker, and this is where it gets really interesting. All these proprietary systems are going to create massive fragmentation. Think about it. JP Morgan coin, Bank of America coin, Eurobank coin. It's going to be chaos. So the million-dollar question is, who's going to bridge all these walled gardens together? And that's exactly why XRP exists, my friends. This is what I've been telling you this entire time. Banks can launch all the stablecoins they want. Go crazy. But here's the reality check. They're still going to need a bridge currency. Nobody wants Bank of America coin except Bank of America, right? Same thing with JP Morgan coin, Citi coin, and all the rest. It's like everyone having their own currency that only works in their own little bubble. And even if these banks somehow manage to create one unified stablecoin between themselves, they still have to transact with the outside world. The moment they want to send their stablecoin anywhere beyond their little club, boom, they need a bridge currency. This was always the endgame, folks, and I'm pretty sure Brad Garlinghouse saw this coming from miles away. He was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers, preparing for exactly this scenario. That's why we have XRP. It's the universal bridge that's going to connect all these fragmented systems together.
Jim Cramer called XRP a con at 38 cents. Take a listen.
We put up XRP and Solana and Dogecoin. Those are all, I believe, cons. I mean, if we think that the XRP slash USD coin is something that we should be following, well, I mean, we should be following we should put up like Rent the Runway and Stitch Fix up there. I mean, honestly, I just find it's just a random group of things that we put up. And that I question that because I'm busy trying to find how to make money for people. And I don't want to try to figure out how to lose money for people.
You know, there's this old saying in the crypto world, you should always bet against Jim Cramer. But seriously, when XRP was sitting back at just 50 cents, I was literally telling everyone who would listen, time is running out, people. And here's the thing, we really had no idea when it was going to explode. It could have been next week, next month, or even next year. But we knew something big was coming. And guess what? It's the exact same situation right now. We don't know exactly when the next major breakout is going to begin, but here's what we do know. It's absolutely coming. If you've been in the crypto space for any amount of time, you understand this pattern. Anyone who's serious about crypto knows that another massive breakout is on the horizon. This bull run, it's far from over, my friends. We're just getting started. So here's what everyone's pushing on social media right now. Alt season is canceled. Sound familiar? Every single time the market goes sideways for a bit, people start screaming that it's all over. And honestly, it feels like they just push this narrative to get some attention on X and make it trend. You've seen those posts, right? Alt season is done. The 4-year cycle is finished. It's like clockwork. Now, I actually do agree that the traditional 4-year cycle is coming to an end, but here's where I think differently than most people. I believe we're standing on the edge of something completely revolutionary. We're about to see utility actually driving these cryptocurrencies for the first time ever. And when that happens, it's going to change the 4-year cycle forever. Just imagine this scenario with me. What if we get a massive utility-driven run in 2026? Nobody has any clue how long something like that could last. It could stretch all the way to 2028, maybe even longer. We honestly have no idea because we've never experienced a true utility run before. So here's the big question. How is that going to completely shake up the 4-year cycle as we know it? Think about it this way. Money isn't going to keep pouring into Bitcoin the same way it used to. Not when you've got cryptocurrencies that are actually being used and utilized all around the world for real purposes. That's going to push Bitcoin into irrelevance, and people are going to start transacting with these other networks instead of Bitcoin. Mark my words, this is absolutely going to happen. Right now, the whole Bitcoin narrative is still buy Bitcoin and hold it forever. Never sell your Bitcoin. But you know what? Even that message is starting to change in some pretty interesting ways.
Could the Debasement Trade be the biggest Bitcoin narrative for 2026?
So here's what Bitcoin's whole strategy is really about. It's called the Debasement Trade. And let me break this down for you in simple terms. Basically, people are losing trust in government-backed money. You know, regular dollars, euros, that kind of thing. They're also getting nervous about bonds and traditional investments. So what are they doing instead? They're shifting their money towards scarce assets, things like Bitcoin and gold that can't just be printed out of thin air like regular currency. It's essentially people saying, hey, I don't trust what the government is doing with money anymore, so I'm going to put my wealth into something that's actually limited and can't be manipulated the same way. That's Bitcoin's main selling point right there. It's the digital version of this flight to scarce, hard assets. Now, I've always told you guys, you definitely want to hedge against the US dollar because, let's face it, the dollar is constantly losing its purchasing power over time. That's just the reality we're living in. But here's something really interesting that caught my attention. Even Matt Hogan from Bitwise, and this guy knows his stuff, he talked about this debasement trade concept. But notice how he calls it? He specifically calls it a theory. And get this, He says this theory is gaining serious steam and is going to be really popular all the way into 2026. So even the experts are acknowledging that this whole idea of people fleeing traditional currency for scarce assets isn't just some fringe concept anymore. It's becoming mainstream thinking in the investment world.
But there's already a problem with this theory because what do Bitcoin? But here's the thing that always gets me. What do Bitcoin holders actually do when they want to cash out? They're selling right back into US dollars. Unless they're planning to hold that Bitcoin literally forever. And that's exactly what the debasement trade narrative is pushing. Buy Bitcoin, hedge against the dollar, and never, ever sell it. The idea is that someday in the future, you'll just be transacting directly in Bitcoin because it'll be adopted everywhere. But here's the reality check. We already know Bitcoin isn't going to be part of the new financial system. We know it's not getting global adoption like that. So what happens? You end up buying Bitcoin while the smart money is selling it off, and you get stuck holding the bag, hoping it climbs back to a level where you can finally exit with a profit. To me, this whole debasement trade thing is just a fancy new narrative so guys like Jack Mallers can sound smart on CNBC. Oh, it's all about breaking away from the US dollar. And sure, that's actually a great idea in theory, but here's what I think. If you want to break away from the dollar, put your money into something that's actually going to change the world. And that's exactly what XRP is about to do. XRP is positioned to change the entire world because everything is shifting to full digital. And here's the key. You're always going to need a bridge currency. Whether we're talking about real-world assets, stablecoins, central bank digital currencies, or even regular fiat currency as it exists today, it can all be bridged using XRP. That's why when you hold XRP, you're literally holding the future. But you know what? I hate this whole hold forever mentality. It's the same problem I have with traditional banking. I always tell people, never just store your money in a bank. The bank will never make you rich. When you're getting a tiny fraction of 1% on your money, how are you ever supposed to build real wealth? It's just not going to happen. Even if you park your money in a savings account, that money is losing value every single day because the US dollar keeps depreciating. That's why I tell people, if you're planning to sell your entire crypto bag during this run, at least cash out into a stablecoin that offers yield. That way, you're still earning money on your money instead of just converting to dollars and going on some massive shopping spree. But hey, everybody has their own strategy, and that's totally fine. Here's what I know for sure. We are absolutely going to see an alt season, and we're going to make some serious money very soon. But until that happens, just stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. All right, everyone, that's a wrap on today's video. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. You guys are amazing, and I truly appreciate all the support. I'll catch you in the next one.